Predators don't always need to be big, strong, scary, intimidating, and dominant to go on a hunting rampage. Although most of the prominent predators check these boxes, ants are an exception to this rule. They have the power to destroy anything in their path, irrespective of the nature, abilities, and stature of their opponent. Ants have the ability to work together, and an entire army moves with a singular purpose. This is why they can conquer any animal if they set their minds to it. In today's video, we will show you 15 unbelievable moments of ants attacking their opponents. Number 15. Ants attack lizard. Lizards are threats to almost all insects and bugs. They are opportunistic predators who can sneak up to an oblivious prey and attack. However, these reptiles rarely ever think of going up against ants. In fact, there's not much they can do to avoid annihilation if ants suddenly decide to attack. In this first clip, the lizard is very much alive and moving when the ants target it. Their crippling bites force the animal to thrash about painfully and then move to a different tree. But it isn't that easy to shake off an army of determined ants. Soon, the attackers follow it to the other leaf as well. With the overwhelming odds against it, this lizard simply doesn't have a way out of this predicament. Within minutes, more ants join in, and at one point, you can barely see the lizard underneath with the ants swarming over it. The hunters carry off their prized meal with utmost ease. Here, you can see the brutality of the ants at full display. Although the lizard is already dead when they attack, the truly amazing thing is how they get to work on the animal's body. Thousands of ants swarm the lizard's corpse and start feeding. Within hours, you can see there's nothing but only the bones left. It's truly fascinating how quickly they pick the bones clean. Number 14. Ants versus praying mantis. Praying mantis are some of the most dangerous killers out there. Well, what else would you call creatures that are known to cannibalize their partners during a sexual encounter? If they can do that to their own kind, just imagine what they do to others. They routinely take on ants too, but the tables can turn quickly. This praying mantis thinks it can kill and feed on ants without repercussions. However, before dying, the kidnapped ants send a chemical distress signal to its companions nearby. Soon, an entire army swarms the mantis. One of the ants gets a hold of its jaw to stop it from defending itself. The other ants attack with surgical precision and soon behead the praying mantis. It really didn't end well for the mantis, and it probably shouldn't have messed with the ants. Number 13. Ants versus termites. Termites and ants have shared animosity with each other for millions of years. Termites are generally considered more powerful than ants, but they simply can't match the numbers in an ant colony. So, these fights can go either way, with casualties on both sides. In this clip, an ant colony decides to launch an attack at a nearby termite mound. The whole army races towards the mound without any knowledge of how many opponents are waiting for them inside. Some of the worker ants inspect the mound's opening carefully. They also leave a scent trail for the others to follow. Inside the mound tunnel, the ants soon encounter the termite guards and engage in a brutal fight. The ants' numbers are simply too high, and they break through the first line of the termites' defense. In this one too, ants have mounted an attack against the termites. Even though they are much smaller than the termites, the ants know just what they are doing. Some of them fall victim to the termite's jaw, which snaps and cuts the ants into two. But the ants overpower the bigger opponents using sheer numbers. They cut through the termite's hard shell by attacking at strategic points. After taking care of the guards, the ants move deeper to attack the termite queen. The remaining termites pull the queen out of danger, even as the rest of the guards try to block the ants long enough for their queen to escape. In the end, even though the queen does escape, the ant attack leaves a trail of termite bodies behind. Number 12. Ants attack spider. We've seen time and again how ants can take down opponents several times their size simply because of their ability to work together in a group. Just by the looks of it, you may think a spider is simply not a creature that ants can beat, but you'd be surprised. As you see in this clip, the spider is completely overwhelmed by the ants. Its attackers swarm all over it, delivering quick and painful bites. The spider can try to fight off some of them, but there's no way it can defend against this many. The next option is to run away, and this spider attempts an escape too, but again, the ants are able to stop it in its tracks. After a while of continuous assault, the spider goes limp. Number 11. Ants hunt snake. Even the largest of snakes are terrified of ants, and they have a reason to be afraid, and it's difficult to combat a predator who you cannot get a hold of. Constriction or injecting poison requires the opponent to be of a certain stature, and ants fit neither. A snake is slithering in its usual surroundings, completely unbothered with hundreds of ants coming its way. As it attempts to crawl up a wall, the ants start clinging onto its body. The snake still seems pretty indifferent, which is strange. Any snake would flinch and try to shake off the ants, but this snake is unresponsive. This worked in the favor of the ants, and soon hundreds of them collected on the snake and started working on eating it alive. A prey to a similar attack, this ill-fated snake is facing the wrath of thousands of ants crawling over it. Somehow, the reptile got stuck in an awkward place, and the ants did not waste any time attacking the snake. It's only a matter of time before the ants dig into the snake's flesh and devour it to dust. But the man in the video quickly dips the snake in water to remove the ants and saves its life. Number 10. Ants hunt crab. It's one thing to dig into the flesh of animals with soft skin, but crabs are one tricky animal to get through. They have an outer crust made of keratin that covers their internal organs and the other vulnerable parts of their body. This crust is practically impenetrable by the ants, so these sneaky animals get creative while attacking. An unaware red crab walks straight into an ongoing hunting party. The army immediately gets to work and traps the crab from all ends. However, the hardy outer layer of the crab was an unexpected challenge for them. They start looking for vulnerable spots, and soon enough, they figure out that the limb joints could be a way in. They swarm in through the cracks and start eating the crab from the inside. The crab helplessly endured the entire process of being eaten alive by thousands of mandibles picking at its flesh from the inside. Number 9. Ants hunt centipede and millipede. Centipedes and millipedes are elongated worm-like creatures, and some of them can be extremely venomous and lethal in nature. Ants and centipedes share the same territory and frequently cross paths, and more than often, centipedes might end up losing their lives in such ant attacks. This centipede is surrounded by an entire ant army. The slow movement of the prey helps the ants to be a step ahead and swarm the centipede. They start from its tiny legs and make their way up its body. They attack each segment of the worm, preventing it from moving ahead. The centipede squirms and wiggles to shrug off the army, but fails miserably. Hundreds of ants flood in and take over the worm's body. They lift it up and carry their prey back to their hideout to stash it for later use. A millipede is walking down a path when it sees an incoming ant army and coils into a defensive stance. The invaders inspect the weird object for a few minutes before attacking it. The disturbance causes it to open up. The worm grabs some ants in the front and recoils, probably attempting to squash the ants. It keeps writhing, twisting, and squirming itself to escape and evade the attack. But eventually, the immense teamwork of the vicious predators overpowers it and leaves it lifeless to get devoured by the entire army. Here, a slimy centipede is attacked by some Dracula ants. Even though it seems considerably easier to get rid of a few ants, these are no ordinary mandibles. Dracula ants are skilled to make strikes many times more powerful than normal ants, so a few of them are equivalent to an entire army. In a very short span of time, the ants manage to suck the life out of the centipede by diving and attacking different and vulnerable segments of its body. Number 8. Ants hunt frog. Frogs are visibly a lot bigger than the ants, yet the flawless teamwork of these tiny creatures can accomplish the most difficult tasks. Even though ants are not equipped with super strength or size, their sheer unity and strategic attacks take them a long way. An adult frog is stuck in an awkward position, giving the perfect opportunity to the fire ants to make their move on it. The frog is pretty defenseless, but very much alive. It flinches and twitches its limbs, probably from the excruciating painful sensation of getting stung and bitten by the tiny insects. Soon, the army swarms their prey and methodically bite down through the flesh and bones to dismantle one of the hind limbs from the rest of the body. Although the frog attempted to fight it to the end, being stuck in such a manner didn't make things any easier for it. And if you are wondering if these tiny things could even manage to finish off a prey this big, here is a sneak peek of them devouring a dead adult frog in a matter of 36 hours. Ants have mandibles that have the ability to disintegrate the bones and flesh of any creature. Thousands of them rip off tiny portions of the prey's body and feed on it until the whole body is reduced to small bone fragments on the ground. Number 7. Ants hunt ant. When we say that ants will destroy anything on their path, we really mean it. They are merciless attackers, and if the situation requires them to turn on each other, they do it without any hesitation. Every ant colony has a queen, and every queen has a limited serving time in the colony too. When their purpose is fulfilled, they get replaced, and sometimes it can be brutal. Ants do not entertain neighboring colonies and consider them as rivals. However, in this one, fighting and brutality ensues within the colony itself. Somehow, the queen ant ends up dead, and the worker ants soon decide to decapitate her body. At one point, some of the queen ant's offspring also start to feast on her body. Now this is truly brutal, but nothing goes to waste in the wilderness. Number 6. Ants hunt fledglings. Ants often invade bird nests and attack the young ones because they are defenseless, which increases the chance of a successful attack. It's a known fact that the parent birds are away most of the time in search of food, so it only takes a perfect moment of attack to take down the young ones. When an ant army spots a fallen duckling nearby, they waste no time to set camp on it. Whenever ants locate a food source, they leave pheromone trails for the others to follow and find it. Slowly and surely, the others follow and swarm the deceased duckling until it's covered with countless ants feeding on it round the clock. They dig in and bite down the bird until only fur and some bones are left behind. This dead bird had the same fate as the duckling. A lime lapse shows how the ants skillfully take over the entire body and start feeding on the parts with the most flesh on it. To make the work easier and less tedious, they start with the vulnerable parts of the body and work their way to the other parts systematically. Number 5. Ants hunt rodent. A healthy and active rodent might outrun ants in the open, but when they come in close contact in captivity or the rodent is not as agile and fast as they usually are, things might be different. A full-grown mouse is trapped in an ant enclosure. With no escape in sight, the mouse becomes lunch for the ants. They swarm the rodent and attempt to enter the rodent's body through any of its orifices. We can only imagine the amount of pain this mouse must be enduring, but it has no other option but to bear this assault. This baby rat is being raided by a swarm of ants. The tactic of disintegration is similar to all other ant attacks, except here, it's a tad easier than the other because the rat is just a baby and has not developed any proper skin or fur coat. The ants only need to pierce through the skin and feed on it right away. Number 4. Ants hunt slug. Ants will attack anything that's slow and within their reach. Slugs fill in the criteria perfectly, and so ants never leave a chance to attack one of these whenever they spot a slug anywhere around their territory. A colony of driver ants spot a slug and immediately charge at it. Slugs are immensely slow, which makes them an ideal lunch for the tiny ants. They soon take control of the host's body, but are welcomed with a surprise. Slugs are slow, but as a defense, they have a thick layer of slime covering the entire body. Some ants get their mandibles stuck, and to prevent it from happening further, the others start to bring in soil to absorb the slime while they dig through the slug. They succeed in taking down the insect and start feeding on it while it's still alive. This is the aftermath of a massive ant attack on a slug. Unlike the previous one, this slug is dead, and the ants are devouring its body inside out, and it won't take long for them to reduce this creature to dust. Number 3. Ants hunt snails. One thing that's as slow as a slug is the snail, and sharing the same qualities sometimes means sharing the same ill fate of getting attacked by vicious ants. Snails have a hard protective outer layer, just like the crabs, so ants have to walk the extra mile to bring them down. The ever-so-slow snail is attacked by murderous ant gang. They have made it inside the crust layer of the snail and biting down the vital organs on the inside. The snail twitches at the itchy sensation, but fails to defend itself, and only awaits to be devoured by the killer army. Number 2. Ants hunt scorpions. No matter who or what their opponents are, the victory of the ants can only be stalled till the time they find out a weakness of their contender. Once they figure that out, there is little that can be done to defeat them. A lone scorpion in a similar situation tries to fend off the ants with its stinger, but even its lethal defense is no match for the savage driver ants. While the workers get busy finding a vulnerable spot to invade, the giant soldier ants join to take control of the scorpion's defense. Soon, they mutilate the limbs and other parts of the animal, and it dies a gruesome death. Number 1. Ants hunt insects. Ants do not hesitate to pick up a fight with creatures much bigger than them, and with some luck and proper attacking strategy, many animals fail to survive their brutal attacks. Bottled up in a tiny enclosure, a giant grasshopper is left with a single bullet ant. The insect is much bigger than the ant and has strong barbed hind legs to defend itself. The ant, on the other hand, has the strongest and most venomous bite out of all ants. After a brief scuffle, the ant meticulously breaks off all the limbs of the hopper, making it defenseless. With no other choice left, the hopper gets brutally attacked with repeated bite until it becomes lifeless. Trapped with hundreds of ants, this roach gets mutilated part by part almost in the same way as the hopper. It was in the middle of giving birth when the attack began, but the newborn larva is too weak to defend itself and succumbs to the same fate as its mother, at the hands of their merciless attackers. That's all for today, folks. Which of these ant invasions had you on the edge? Let us know in the comments down below. Plus, don't forget to like and share this video with your friends and family. To get more such amazing videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon so that you can get notified every time we come with a new video. Have a great day, and we hope to see you soon in another exciting video.